So very often we come to a manager and we share something, like I want this and I want that, but we are not asking the manager, how can you help me to achieve that? People are coming with different problems. They might think that they have a problem with job clarity or career clarity. And then once we dive into motivations, fears, their thoughts, their negative thinking patterns, then we realize that it's not about the job change. Actually, they like their job. I was a very successful recruiter, but one day I realized that I was not enjoying it anymore. I did not realize that I wanted to be a career coach at first. So I want to work for myself because I was a little bit tired of company politics. I wanted to be very independent.
You're very into neuroscience, correct?
I like to read and learn about that. I'm not a professional neuroscientist, of course.
And you apply this to your work?
Yes, I do a lot actually. Knowing how the brain works, knowing how we need to set goals, how we are going to overcome obstacles. That's something that neuroscience also can help. People are going to interviews with a mindset that I want to please them, I want to give them what they want. People are forgetting about why they're going there. It's not only about their company, but it's for their growth and their mental well-being and their job satisfaction. This interview is not the last chance. Just like other people are talking about the market situation, they get scared, but the reality, of course, it's a little bit different. But there are so many jobs that I believe that it's just the excuse for many people not to take the next step because they're afraid.
In interviews, what kind of questions should I be asking?
How can I be sure that you're not a micromanager?
That's really different. Are you the only one providing this type of service? Because I think it's really unique.
I don't think so. I know a few people that are providing the same services, but the majority of career coaches, they do this service, like they provide the services like job search, but actually it's not a career coach. A coach is someone who is not telling you how you should do stuff. The coach is a person who is asking questions and guiding you, helping you understand yourself better, become more self-aware. And people who are helping with job search services, they're job search consultants or something like that, but not coaches in the classic way of the definition of a coach,
Wow. I've learned something new. I actually didn't know that. I thought, so you provide different services as a whole, but everyone's under this cluster of career coaching.
Yeah. It's like a therapy, but we are focusing on the future, not the past. And of course, we are not treating mental health. But we are also working a lot with the mind and mindset of people as coaches and job search consultants. They're just helping you to apply for jobs you want, searching some jobs, etc. So it's like a different type of service that you provide.
Absolutely. And have people mistaken you for doing the CV rewriting?
Yes. Sometimes I do help them, but I'm not like hired as a job search consultant. If we reach the point in our discussion that the person wants to change a job, then I can also advise something on how to improve their CVs, but I'm not writing the CV for them or LinkedIn profile, but we are just like defining their strengths. We are defining their maybe weaknesses, and we are building this bridge between what they have, what they don't have, how to present it in a job interview or your CV. So still like a communication and conversation, right? Rather than just like helping them to fill in the paper.
Yeah, because what the others tend to do is rewrite CVs and make their LinkedIn profiles look absolutely amazing and stand out in a recruiter search, for example. But they don't teach the psychology behind it. So when they actually land the interview, they might not succeed because they don't believe in their profiles. They think they're sorry, I'll say that again. They think that they're not being their true selves, that they're kind of making themselves look even more skilled or professional than they actually are, almost like imposter syndrome. But you're doing the second half almost, that they are. And that would come naturally then, right? If you do believe in yourself, that you are confident in your skill set and that you can work for companies that you've helped, right? So you've helped people get jobs at Rabobank, Booking as well, an amazing big company, ASML, huge company as well. So maybe let's talk more about your experience, Anastasiia. So with the transition of being a corporate leader, talent acquisition manager, right?
Yes.
To working for yourself as being a career coach. Tell us a bit more about your journey with that.
I was a very successful recruiter. I was in love what I was doing actually, but one day I realized that I was not enjoying it anymore. And I started asking myself questions like, what do I really want? What can bring me joy, etc. And I started this self-discovery journey, long journey. And actually, I did not realize that I wanted to be a career coach at first. So I had some other thoughts, like maybe I could become a Scrum Master. Maybe I could, because for me, it was all about learning and development, facilitation, growth, leadership, communication, people, communicating on a daily basis with people. I was also thinking maybe about a learning and development role, etc. UX, UI design, because I was curious about why people make certain choices, why they decide to do this or not that, like behavior, etc. And I came to the point when I realized that I want to work for myself because I was a little bit tired of company politics. I wanted to be very independent. I want to have a lot of ownership, flexibility, and freedom and autonomy, because I was working for 8 years in recruitment. I was enjoying that, but I got probably burned out, out of that position. The transition wasn't so hard because I had a plan and I had a vision. That was very important, because of course it was scary because you're jumping into unknown. But if you have skills, if you believe in what you want to do, you have a plan, you already match your strengths, your skills, the environment that you want to work in, and then the market demand, and you see that everything is matching. It's just a matter of how you're going to market yourself, and that's it, right? And the consistency. So of course you have to have certain skills to begin, but you also need to have this commitment and stay then consistent. So with all my skills in leadership, in coaching, in mentoring people, helping them grow, matching people to jobs, of course, because I was a recruiter, I could just translate that into my business. And that's it. That was just the process that I went through, and it took me probably 6 months to make this transition. Of course, I wanted to test a little bit the market because, the first rule of UX UI designer is you're not your user. So you might think that the user needs this. And I thought maybe people needed my help as a job search consultant, but maybe they didn't, right? So it was my assumption. So I started writing on LinkedIn tips and tricks on job search, career development, etc. And I started getting first requests to help people with their profiles, career development, etc. And I realized, okay, that's the confirmation for me that I'm moving towards the right direction.
That's amazing. It was almost like you affirmed your career path. And did taking these steps in your own journey allow you to understand how to do it with your career coaching certification to other people as well?
Of course. Actually, I started as a job search consultant, so I was helping mainly with CV writing and LinkedIn profile makeover, interview preparations. But then later I realized that I wanted to dive deeper into more of a psychology, behavior change, skills development, mindset change, confidence, etc. And yes, I decided to enroll in this certification, like the course, and then the course allowed me to apply for the ICF certification. And of course, that study and that journey helped me to understand how people think better, understand their challenges, and the combination of recruitment, active listening, then asking questions, open-ended questions, plus the tools and techniques and the strategies that I learned in the course helped me enormously to become that career coach who is already work with more than 300 people.
That's so many. In the Netherlands?
In different countries, like 10 plus countries. But of course, mainly in the Netherlands, because people like my experience as an expat.
Yes.
Because they can relate. And also because I'm aware of the local market.
Of course. 300 people. I can't get over that. And it's going to be 300 more this year and next year. Amazing. So you're very into neuroscience, correct?
I like to read and learn about that. I'm not a professional neuroscientist, of course, but yes, I do read and learn to certain extent about that.
And you apply this to your work sometimes?
Yes, I do a lot actually, because people are coming with different problems. They might think that they have a problem with job clarity or career clarity, but the problem might be that they can't be assertive and very honest with themselves or with their manager or with their team. And they try to avoid having these difficult conversations with a manager, for example. And the easiest way is to change the job rather than to go and confront or be very honest and assertive with your manager. And sometimes they come, I want to find a job. And then once we dive into the motivations, fears, their thoughts, their negative thinking patterns, then we realize that it's not about the job change. Actually, they like their job, but it's more about the environment and building boundaries for themselves, and becoming more assertive, for example. Or it's also about sometimes career clarity. They reach a certain point where they are senior professionals. They already realize their potential in this field or area, and then they want to move forward. And of course, knowing how the brain works, knowing how we need to set goals, how we are going to overcome obstacles, because we will have them, especially if you're going into unknown. That's something that neuroscience also can help, because we need to have some dopamine in order to move forward. We need to have some reward that our brain can see and tell, okay, I know that we can do it. I see the reward, I got this dopamine, and then let's move forward. So we can overcome these obstacles and we can achieve more.
We will touch base on advice that you can give to anyone that's listening later on. But I want to tie that in with your experience in those 6 months, transitioning and really discovering yourself. Did you have a lot of fear jumping into entrepreneurship?
I did. A lot of them, of course, because we are all human beings and our brain doesn't like changes. So the change means a threat. And also it means that you need to spend a lot of energy to overcome obstacles and figure out new things, right? So the brain wants you to stay put. So that's why I also had a lot of fears. But once I realized that this is how my brain works, it's like, it's not me. It's nothing wrong with my goal or vision. It's just how my brain works. So you kind of like embrace it, you accept it, and you move forward. But for me, it was about, of course, money mindset, losing my financial stability. I used to be financially independent. I used to have good salary, good conditions, stability. It was hard to let it go, But then I realized, all right, if I'll stay and I'll stick to my salary, my monthly salary, will I be happy? Where will I be in 6 months? And then I was very honest with myself. No, it's not going to work for me. I will have either boredom or burnout later on, and money won't help me. All right, another question. Will I be able to break the ceiling in my role? For example, if I'll be a manager, right? Okay, how much can I earn being a manager of 20 people, 30 people, maybe 50 people? I would hit the ceiling with a lot of responsibilities and also like long, maybe hours in order to cover my task, in order to help my team, etc. I realized that I wanted to work actually less, but earn more.
Yeah.
And I asked myself, can I break the ceiling when you're going freelance, when you are your own boss, if you're consistent, if you're working hard as well? You can really earn more than you can earn in employment, right? So that's something that helped me. Of course, it's harder because you have your path and you're following your task. You have someone to help you with, a team, a manager, etc. Like you're sharing your responsibilities with others. And here you're your own boss. But still, that's something that helped me. Like if I will be consistent, I can achieve more in terms of salary or financial stability and income, Another fear that I had was around an expertise. Will I be that person that can help actually people? Will I satisfy my clients? Will I make sure that I deliver value, that they pay big money, for the consultation, and I deliver that value because I'm a recovering perfectionist, so that's why for me it was very hard to convince myself that you will do it because you already done it. Like, look, you've achieved a lot in your career. Every time you overcame an obstacle, you grew, you grew to this position, leadership position. So you have what it takes. And if you have passion and you have good intentions, you will make it work. It's just the matter of being flexible, learn new stuff, receive feedback, feel okay with this feedback, even if you are going to have a client who feels unhappy because maybe you did a bad job on aligning your expectations before you started working together. It's fine. You can improve, You can also give a discount to this client. Nothing's going to happen, So I was working also on this fear in order to convince myself that I can be that professional.
You have leaders come to you, right, for advice. Do people want to revert back to their original positions after they discover things with you, or does that happen a lot? I'm just really curious.
It really depends. It depends because people are feeling stuck and they don't know what they want to do. So that's why we're working on their clarity. For some people, it means staying in their jobs, in their roles, but changing the way how they behave in order to build better boundaries, in order to become more empathetic, to communicate better, clearer, to share their expectations, be bold about that as well and very honest. For some people, it's about, all right, the pressure, the social pressure tells me that I have to be a manager or senior manager, or I need to progress to VP of something. But actually, I feel that I don't want to go there, but I can't overcome this pressure because that's the logical step for me. And then we realize, like, what do you really want, how can you really realize your potential and fulfill your ambitions, but not in the leadership position, for example? And we are looking for some other ways. For some people, it's actually going freelance or maybe working partially in their position, being a hands-on, maybe returning to their previous position so that they don't have a team they need to manage and they have more time, for example, for their personal projects. So it's many different variations of the outcome of our collaboration with them, And for some people, is about dealing with the feeling that it's absolutely okay. Actually, I have a client right now and she's like, I've been in this software engineering role for many, many years and I love it. I just love it. I love to solve technical challenges. But my managers are asking me, do you want to become a leader? It's like the normal progression. Let's talk about that. And she feels this pressure, but she doesn't want to be that leader, actually. She wants to be very hands-on. And she was asking me, is it okay if I am 60 plus something years old and I'm still applying for senior developer position? For her, it was very hard to overcome that fear that people might be judging her for not willing to take on a leadership position because it's not normal, And we are working on the mindset and approaches and strategies that it is normal. And it's not about what they want, it's about what you want and how you convey that message and tell them, this is my life, this is what I love, and you can really benefit from me because I am a very hands-on senior professional.
So do you think it's social pressure that allows people to think this way?
Social pressure, but also something that we learn that we have to climb this career ladder. And then for us is like, okay, what is the next natural step? And it's a moving up, But now I see more often people are willing to grow maybe more horizontally rather than vertically. And it's becoming like a norm, But for some people, especially if their friends are so successful and moving their career ladder, or their parents putting too much pressure, like, oh my God, you've achieved so much and you're going to lose your experience. You have a great salary, team, etc., reputation. What are you doing? So they have this second thoughts, although they feel that they want to do something different and they don't have this ambition anymore to be a leader.
Yeah, and you're teaching them to be confident in their decisions because with the managerial title, etc., normally that's a easy step for people to ask for a promotion to get that title change, to get that salary increase. And it might be more challenging to stay in your position and go to your boss and say, hey, I want to remain as I am, but I'd like to be paid more,
Yes.
please. So I think there's that stigma as well, that if you are bold and you ask for a lot of change, instead of just staying the same, because why should they pay you more if you're doing the same job?
It's a great question, and it's about your value, right? So if you figure out the way how you can really add value to your potential employer, you're going to be paid. Because let's say that there are some difficult areas where they need a very niche experience. And if you're that professional, you can negotiate and say, hey, I can solve within, I don't know, a few weeks this challenge. You need to hire another person to educate that person. We don't know if that person will like it or perform well. I'm here, I have this and I can do this. I'm very loyal, whatever like it means. And then you can just negotiate. And the point is not like come in and say that because I'm great, but the point is that you are coming with some facts and already some contributions. And also asking open-ended questions is like, what shall I do to get this X amount in my pay slip? What shall I do? How can we achieve that in 6 months? So very often we come to a manager and we share something, like I want this and I want that, but we are not asking the manager, how can you help me to achieve that? What is possible in order for me to grow, to get this amount, etc. So you also need to ask your manager to help you and support and build a plan and follow up and follow that plan and do these check-ins, in between your conversations. Share follow-ups like, look, I've achieved this, I've already solved this technical challenge, etc. So it's all about you taking initiative, but also branding yourself and marketing yourself and showing your value and speak up about that.
Yeah. Do you find with your clients, so I've spoken to a couple of friends that are frustrated. They like their companies and their jobs, but they come from more of an emotional side when they ask for a raise instead of a logical, like you've just explained. Is this really common?
You mean that they are using their emotions in order to ask for a salary?
Yeah.
I think that you're putting too much pressure, right, on your manager. And it's not about emotions, because everyone can come and say that I want to have a better salary, right? But not everyone actually did something in order to achieve that, right? I mean, we are doing our best, but if you want to have a significant increase, you have to do something better, right? You need to show your value, your added value. So it's not about emotions, not at all. It's about your needs, your desires. Then also explain why you wanted that, what you already did in order to get that, why you have the right also to ask for that. And then again, work together with your manager to make it happen. Because if you're going only press on your manager without also allowing them to share their thoughts and what's possible and not possible, it's just the one-way street. So you have to get support from your manager. And to do that, you need to ask questions and they need to share with you their thoughts and the way how they see it happen.
That was such good information for those listening and for myself as well for the future. You've already given us so much advice. I'm just wondering, so talking about questions, for example, in interview or negotiation stage, what kind of questions should I be asking?
I'll share a couple of questions later, but first I want to talk about this mindset when you go to a job interview. It's very important because right now people are going to interviews with a mindset that I want to please them. I want to give them what they want. I mean, a hiring team, right? Because they have a job. I need a job. I want to grow, but I will give them what they want to hear, right? So I will be pleasing them in one word. People are forgetting about why they're going there. It's not only about their company or a hiring team or a manager, but it's for their growth and their mental well-being and their job satisfaction, etc., etc. So They need to know what they want to achieve, why they are going to the job, and they need to treat this process as a equal process. Meaning that if a hiring team is asking you questions, different questions, you gave them answers, very honest answers, of course, in a very polite and very empathetic way. It's very important and respectful way, but you have to be very honest with them and ask honest questions and bold questions sometimes. It can be if you, for example, had a very bad experience with a previous manager who was a micromanager, zero empathy, and you felt that it was suffocating for you, you need to ask a question. For example, how do you make sure that your people have a lot of freedom when they are performing their task? Or how can I be sure that you're not a micromanager? It's a very bold question, of course, but you are actually giving them a room to be very honest and share their thoughts, because they are not prepared for those questions. They're prepared for the questions like, how does the team look like? Can you tell me more about my responsibilities, right? And normally, as the interview goes, they are revealing those answers to these typical questions on their own. It's like, you will be doing this, this, and that, right? And for example, if you feel that it's very generic and that you want to know whether you will be overtiming or not, you also need to ask the questions about how often do you guys overtime, for example? How do you make sure that the job is done without overtiming? Because I really take care of my mental health. How can we agree at this stage that I'm not going to work more than 8 hours that are in my contract? And it's not because I'm not a hardworking person. It's just I'm going to be very efficient and effective in my 8 hours, and then after 5 p.m. I go home, I gain energy, I spend time, I don't know, unwind, etc. And then I'm a fresh person next morning.
So with the neuroscience experience that you have as well, people are very nervous when they go into interviews, particularly face-to-face. Actually, all methods, even virtually, are terrifying. Is there a technique that we could use beforehand to be so bold and confident to ask these questions? Because I can't even, as a hiring manager, receiving these questions would make me shake in my boots. I'd have to be honest, of course. But as an applicant, as a person going for an interview, are there some specific techniques that we could do prior?
Sure. First of all, you need to understand what you want. That's very important. And before you go there, you tell yourself, I know that I might want to please people. I know it because I've done it many times. I was going there and I was given the answers. I forgot to ask my questions. I did not challenge them, etc. I know that. I give myself right now, like, not a permission, but I put the spin that I might feel that way. But once I start feeling that way, I need to remind myself that I have to ask the questions that are important to me. So it's also a pin. In coaching, sometimes we say that in order to become self-aware of certain habit, you need to have the spin, the trigger that will be switched in order to change this habit, right? That's the first part. Second part, they need you too. Your potential employer needs you too. It's not you are begging for a job. They need a professional. And if you applied for the job, it means, and you are there in that job interview already, it means that you're almost aligned, right?
Yeah.
So if you are also asking, like, you're preparing for that job interview, like, I want to know if I'll have a very nice collaborative team, open-minded team, because previously everyone was on their own, I couldn't ask questions, I felt alone and unsupported, etc. And if this is something that is very important to you, what you need to do is even be bold and tell yourself, I'm not going to accept the job before I talk to a team. Yes, I feel uncomfortable asking for this, because maybe it's not a part of the process. But I am fully aware that this will help me to make my best choice. And also, we will be aligned with the hiring team. We are honest with each other. So asking for your needs is also, it means being honest with them and with yourself. So it's about, like, changing these thoughts from what if they don't like me to when I'm honest with them, we are aligned, we are on the same page, we know what to expect. So they also don't have these hidden stones, we can really talk honestly and come to a agreement that will be suitable for both of us. So you are just allowing yourself to be a little bit uncomfortable, but then you still go, and you can also treat it as a playground.
Yeah.
So this interview is not the last chance, because if you're already invited for a job interview, it means that employers like your CV. But yeah, you can also treat it as a playground. And for example, if you decide that you want to be more assertive in job interviews in order to find that very right place, you also need to allow yourself maybe to fail a few times. But failure is not I'm not good enough, but a failure is like, I tested new skills.
Yeah.
I tried to change my behavior. The next time I'm gonna become better at being more assertive in the job interview, if it makes sense.
No, absolutely. That was so beautifully explained. I think people are also concerned about coming across arrogant, maybe, if they are so strict with their own process, right? Within a company, like, I need this.
Yes.
And the working hours, for example, and about the micromanagement. I think it's just perception, right? Because you are essentially meeting other strangers and also selling yourself for a position, but trying to equally find out, like, is this the company for me? So what's the feedback been like, from people that you've helped with this new approach?
A couple of people, they found a job and they're still there in those jobs. They love it. One person, actually, she had problem with her eyes. And she was working at the company, and she needed to have a special table, special computer, special setup in order to, help her eyes rest. But that company told that, we are all equal and we can't really afford paying for the special equipment for you or setup, because other people might get offended that they don't get this. And we worked with her. She was afraid, she lost confidence because the management was unsupportive. She was doing a lot of work. She was overtiming because they fired a few people and she had to take their job on her plate. And then once we worked on the type of company she wanted to work at, then the questions that she needed to ask, she found that job and she told me, I asked them in the job interview process that I needed that. And they said, no problem. And they delivered in the first week after I started. So that's about asking these questions and talking about your needs.
The fact that you gave her the confidence to help her with that. And not only did she succeed, but she went out of her way to look for a position, right? Because of this realization. I recently made a post, I think you interacted with it as well, about staying in a toxic environment because of the current situation in the market, because of the layoffs. Are you experiencing that as well with people at the moment that you're helping?
Yeah, of course, but not so much. Because when they are coming to me, we are opening, for example, LinkedIn. And then we see that there are kind of like, if you don't put a title, there are like, 400,000 something jobs in the Netherlands. So just like other people are talking about the market situation, they get scared. But the reality, of course, it's a little bit different. But there are so many jobs that I believe that it's just the excuse for many people not to take the next step because they're afraid. Because people who want to change something, they're not jumping into a no immediately, but they get prepared. They know what they want and they go after that position. And sometimes it's not even advertised, right? That sometimes managers, they do have budgets. And if you have a good candidate that maybe was referred or that person reached out to a hiring manager directly, and the manager is like, oh, we are missing the skill in our team. Let me talk to that person, for example.
Yeah.
So there are so many different ways how you can actually get the job. And it doesn't mean that you need really just to jump into a known. You just need to prepare. You need to gain clarity. You need to understand your strengths. You need to understand what you can really offer. You need to be confident in yourself. And then even if there are not so many jobs in your area of expertise, but you can sell yourself properly, you'll get the job. Even if there are like, only 100 jobs, that you are targeting, but that's just a matter of preparation and clarity and focus. That's it.
And you give such different advice as opposed to other career coaches that I've seen on LinkedIn and spoken to as well. It's more about the mindset instead of narrowing down your search to a dream company and being like them and seeing their culture and really being a duplicate of like one of their already existing colleagues. It's just about owning your shit, who you are, the fact that you can do that job and that they want you as much as you want them, but maybe you don't want them after the interview, after you ask them these questions.
Exactly.
I think managers would show their true selves. I mean, if you just ask someone, how can I know you're not a micromanager? Deep down, subconsciously, if you are, because you don't have a remote team, for example, they're all on site 5 days a week, you're like watching their hours, like if they're online on Teams or if they're orange with the clock because they've gone to the bathroom or something, I think someone would react negatively to that. So have people, I don't want to go into too much details, of course, because of confidentiality, but has there been an experience where someone has been bold and asked these questions, one of your clients, and has received a negative experience and has asked you, should I move forward because I still need a job, or do I just digress and look for something new because that was a red flag?
I cannot recall like the exact experience. What I definitely know that some people, we build a strategy, and some people, they went and they had a conversation with the manager. They tried different techniques. For example, before they were going and just telling, you know what, I want to grow. And the manager, oh yeah, of course, I know that you want to grow. We will talk about that. Of course, do your job, do your best. And of course, I will see your contribution. And let's talk about that after your performance evaluation in 6 months, something like that, right? So you're giving the power to your manager to decide whether you proceed with the plan or not immediately, right? And decide instead of you what you want to do and your place within the department or the company. But after they changed the strategy and they came and they like, you know what, I want to be very honest with you because I really like the company, I really like the vibe, but I feel that I am not using my potential to like fully. And I want your support on helping me moving forward and growing. And I know that you will understand because you see that contribution. So that's what I want to do in the company. It doesn't mean that immediately I will look for something different like within the organization, but I want your support to help me understand how I can get that in 6 months, for example. Let's discuss that. So you're asking kind of like support and be with you, your manager.
Yeah.
You are kind of like honest, but you're also giving the power like yourself and the manager to work, to be an equal partner in this process as well. And allow your manager to be honest with you and tell you, you know what, you wanted this role, and I see that unfortunately it's not possible. So I cannot work with you, you know, within the next 6 months. And then the manager, for example, can ask, what else can I offer you? And then you can think about that and come again and have a conversation. Or you can share like that. Okay, if we don't have this pure like title or responsibilities, I could do that one. How can we make it happen? So after we change the strategy, and if the person tried to go with an open heart, with positive intention, asking open-ended questions to allow the manager also to brainstorm with you, and nothing changed, like only the defensive behavior, only like tomorrow, then you need to make your choice. I don't have good news for you. It's just you need to make your choice. And if you see that it's a repetitive behavior of your manager to avoid the conversations about your growth, and when you ask very open-ended questions that you expected to have very concrete answers to and you did not get them, you can have a conversation again with your manager saying, look, last time we talked, I asked very open question about my growth. I appreciate that you listened to me. You see how you like, it's not about being aggressive or being offensive. It's like, I appreciate your time and that you went that meeting with me, but I see that we are not progressing. And that's something that bothers me, you know? And if you see that nothing happens, you try to change your strategy, nothing happens, then maybe it's time for you to move on.
Would that be the concrete answer for you, that you'd have to move on? These are the red flags.
I would say so. If you tried, like, look, if you kind of like follow the same path, you cannot expect different results, right?
Yeah.
If you try to experiment with different things, different strategies, communication tools, and you see that your manager is not helping you, is not meeting you somewhere in the middle, then it's your choice.
Oh, it's so heartbreaking, especially if you've been in a company for so long, and you were promised these things at the beginning. You just have to mentally start going through that now. So, you know, you had all these hopes and you were going to retire at this company, and then you just have to think about now, okay, I'm going to be back on the market. I have to strategize again, find colleagues that I love as equally as now. And I guess a manager who takes their time to speak to you about that has good intentions, but doesn't have either the resources or the power to make your dreams come true. So that's a separate issue. It doesn't mean that they're bad at what they do because they have taken the time, but it's just they don't have the budget or the financial control or the, you know, chair at the table to put that proposal on and get you what you want. So that's, I think, equally as bad, right? For a manager to do that.
I can comment on that. I agree totally with you. The point here is that whether your manager did go and talk to someone else about this and made some effort in order to make this happen, and that's a different story. So if you know that your manager messaged a more senior person who is responsible for, I don't know, promotions or salary review, whatever, and you see that your manager is very empathetic and she or he tries a few times, then you feel that, yeah, that person did everything possible and impossible. And now you can understand, decide for yourself. So what do I want to do? But not from the place of escaping already, running from that manager. But maybe, again, finding another strategy.
Yeah.
Maybe I can take on more responsibilities and shadow and work with people from other departments so I can really realize my potential there or build some new skills in that area, right? So if you feel full support from your manager and you see that the manager actually did everything possible to support you and help you in order to achieve your goals, but it wasn't possible, of course, it's again about the choice that you need to make. But maybe you would be willing to stay even longer with that manager.
Yeah.
Knowing that, okay, it's not possible now, but maybe something else I can get.
Yeah, because of the effort they went through in the background. So to avoid this heartache right at the end of your employment journey with a company, so a question, I'm trying to think of questions you could ask during the interviews instead of saying, oh, are there growth or progression within this role? And obviously you say, yes, of course. That tends to be 99% of the answers that managers give because they struggle to see so far in the future and they're very optimistic and they want that person to join. What could a question be instead during the interview?
So you could ask about an example. So, if the person wants to grow, but there is an open position within the team or department, tell me about the last time how you actually dealt with that situation.
Wow. Put the ball in the court.
Yeah, it's like an example.
Yeah.
So the manager can tell you that, actually we had the situation or we did not have that situation before because I'm a new manager, for example. Then you can ask, so what will you do if this happens?
Yeah. And then the manager can put themselves like in that situation and give a full picture as well.
It's like, tell me about a step-by-step process.
Wow.
It's like, I know that you are not a god, that, of course, there are some limitations in terms of resources, etc. But I want to make sure that you will support me. You will use all the power, resources in order to meet my goals, And I will give in return a lot, my commitment, my expertise, my support to other people, other employees, etc.
Wow. So you give advice to people, not just for their job searches, but also people who are fully employed in leadership positions, for example, and just stuck and just need someone professional to talk to. I'm just going to come in instead of a job seeker, for example, as someone who is employed in a leadership position and I am stuck. I know you have so much advice in your head and you've got some secret recipes about how you do your thing. So I don't want to reveal too much. But let's say I'm stuck. I love my job. I like my responsibilities, but I feel that I'm underutilized. So I could do so much more. And I'm too afraid to ask my manager for more responsibilities just in case I do overtime or I have to travel and I want to be at home, for example. So I came to you with that kind of question. So how could I get more responsibilities and projects and tasks without doing so much overtime? How could I even ask my boss to do that? It sounds really awkward even thinking about it.
So it's about also your goal. What do you want to achieve? So let's say that if you're coming to me and you feel stuck, it means that you're already not happy with the responsibilities, not so happy with the responsibilities that you have right now. That maybe you are bored a little bit, that you need a new challenge, right? So it means that you have to move forward. You need to get new challenges, you need to work on new projects. Otherwise, if you will stay silent, you're gonna have this boredom or burnout again. Then your reputation will suffer, right? Because if you don't enjoy, you feel that I'm not utilizing my potential, I'm not challenged, but that's important for me to grow, to solve very challenging tasks or problems. That means that you will be afraid to talk to your manager, but you will be getting dissatisfied every day, you know, and demotivated, meaning that maybe in 6 months or 1 month, you'll get totally frustrated. You'll do your bare minimum and your reputation will suffer. Your mental health will suffer. So when you're thinking about, I'm afraid to talk with with my manager about this, you're kind of like just prolonging something that is going to happen if you will not take the initiative and talk, right? So you think that you're doing good at this moment, not really bringing up this topic, but actually it's just the avoidance for some time, right? So what you need to do is to understand about your goal. What do I really want? So if you say, come to your manager, you know what, I want to have more, like, I don't know, mentorship responsibilities. And I see that we don't have time for this, but it's really important for me to sit down with the person, to lead a little bit, to ask some questions, you know, to work on their growth, whatever. You want to be that more people person, let's say, yeah? And you don't have it because you all have like this administrative task, like overtime and etc. Then you're asking again your manager, I want this. Actually, I also analyzed the team. I analyzed the gaps in our department, for example. I see that these people would benefit from a mentor. So you did your homework before going to your manager and you created a very concrete request with details, what you want and how you could possibly achieve it, right? And then you ask your manager, can we do that? It's not that I don't like my job. I love my job. I love the department. I love you as my manager, but I feel that I'm underutilized. So, but the mental health is also very important for me. So what can we remove that is not so important or can be delegated that I can take 2-3 hours a week to mentor others, for example. So you are creating this plan. And in order to stick to this plan, if you have a green light from your manager, you have to create a plan. You have to follow up via email. You need also to give your manager a sense of kind of like control and this peace of mind that, hey, look, I've been already mentoring. I delegated this responsibility to someone else. The project is running. Everything is good. Nothing falls apart, you know, and the person is benefiting. So I already did this, and I see the results. So you kind of like also show that you stepping into some new areas, responsibilities, gives value and benefits to the employer and a manager.
Yeah. So essentially to assess what you're currently doing, what are the tasks that you could maybe hand over to a team that you're managing, for example, and what kind of bandwidth do you have for new projects? And then again, being confident about that decision, taking that proposal to your boss, and then just taking stats and analysis that you've already done, and just trying things out. And with that in mind, so if people are listening and they're relating to that story, so boreout, right? Boreout or burnout, I think are like the two different things that happen to you. What are like if you know about this, I'm not sure if you do, what are the warning signs of like a boreout or a burnout within a position?
What do you mean?
So if I was, for example, I know that like snapping at your colleagues is like a sign of like almost verging in a burnout. So when work is stressing you out to that point where you can no longer be friendly with someone, that's like really at the end of a burnout, right? And like not wanting to get out of bed. But are there any like micro instances like some towards that direction?
Yeah. So you feel that, for example, for me, it was that I'm doing everything within like 10 minutes and then I'm just looking at the ceiling, means that I know what I do and I'm not challenging myself anymore. Then it's also about really forcing yourself to go to work. It's like you don't want to go there, right? Or if you go there, you are becoming very negative and distant. I'm quite an assertive person and direct person. So I can't be quite direct, sometimes maybe a little bit too pushy. I was, in the corporate world. Now I've changed that a little bit, but all in all, that's in my character. And I noticed that I became very negative. I was challenging all the decisions of my management. I was disagreeing, and I'm like, I'm not that person, although I like to be very direct and I like to speak up, but feeling this negative emotions towards the management and their decision is not okay for me, So I noticed that.
Can it be easily avoided then just by being open and asking questions to your manager or to yourself?
At least you can try. So that's important. So if, for example, you feel that you are totally frustrated, you tried many things, you tried different strategies, you try to talk, and then you see that nothing works, then maybe it's a good decision to move forward. But if you feel that you really like your company and that it's just something in your head, it's just something that you can't really build your own boundaries, or it's too much, you're taking too much on your plate, take like. So that it's really nice if you want to give it a chance to stay in the company, unload yourself, feel more confident, feel more joy and satisfaction. Then, of course, you need to understand what is not working for you and bring up this topic and talk to your manager very honestly about that. Without offensive behavior or something like that. No, it's not about them. It's about me, right? So I'm here. I want your support. I know that you can hear me and support me. But this is what I experience right now. And I want to be here. I want to contribute. I like our team, but this is how I feel. It's too much. So what can we remove from my plate? But first, you need to figure out for yourself what that is. Because sometimes it's still fine to have like this amount of tasks, but you're not enjoying them. But you're taking them because your manager gives you. And I know that we are in a job and that we have to do certain tasks, right? But if you're doing only the tasks that you don't enjoy, it's not going to help. It's not going to work. But if you're mixing with something that, all right, I know that this is a more of a routine right now for a week, but you know that after that, you'll have a lot of exciting activities, new projects. You can stay with that. You can work with that, right?
Yeah.
But that's just the proportion also.
I'm going to show this podcast to my friend because she's started a new position just for about a month and to prove herself. So she's really new at the company. To prove herself to upper management, she's working 60, 70-hour weeks. It's not in the contract. It's not in the job description, but she's just taking as many responsibilities as possible to kind of prove herself. So that's a different issue, isn't it? You're really new at the company. It's not even necessarily that they're toxic and they all work overtime. It's just that you still feel like you owe something to someone and, to the company or to your manager to pass probation, So how do you switch that mindset as a new employee? Do you still just have to be honest? And it's so awkward to do that at the beginning.
I would say that you need to understand the priorities, because you can take many different tasks in order to prove yourself, in order to show that I'm a hardworking person. But there are some responsibilities and tasks that have higher priority. And this is the area where you can show yourself and prove yourself and show that I can help you, I can really bring a lot of value. But do you need to take all the tasks and in all the areas to show yourself as a hardworking person? I doubt that, right? And for me, it's the amount of work is not equal your professionalism or expertise. Never. Of course, when we are starting, we want to show ourselves and we want to prove ourselves. We want to show that, okay, I can do that. You can rely on me. I'm an expert, etc. You need also to understand that you are creating a new habit, and you are showing to your management, it's okay for me to overtime. And I mean that if you are so eager and you love what you do and you have like energy and time to overtime and to do more, feel free to do that. It's like, it's your choice, right? You might get tired very fast because our energy isn't limitless, right? But you're also creating a position where you will be asked to work more after your probation period. It's like, for me, like, you can look at me and it's okay for me to work more than 8 hours a day, and your management might say later, okay, but that's okay for you, and give you more and more and more responsibilities. So you need to avoid that pitfall for yourself, because you're creating a habit for yourself and you are showing them, like the company, especially if the manager is not so, like, I'm not saying a bad manager, no, not at all, but it's like a manager who has a lot of like also goals from a company, and a very ambitious manager, a good leader, but a very ambitious manager. And if they see like, okay, I have that person in my team who will go with me, they will take you on that journey. And if you show them, then I can do that, they will be just following your lead. They see that you can agree to that. So it's very important that you kind of like just create your own boundaries for yourself.
Yeah, from the beginning.
From the beginning.
Wow. And is that the psychology again of first impressions within the probation period? Because it's their first exposure of you being an employee. So if you are like that for the first 4 weeks, they just presume that you're like that forever. Is that just a basic human psychology about that?
I'm not sure that I can answer that question, that's just the psychology. No, I'm not really a psychologist, so I don't know like all the answers like about how our brain works, but I do feel that it's about indeed this desire to be liked, desire to belong, desire to be recognized, of course. But again, it's very important to distinguish the amount of work and the priorities, what is really important and not so important. So maybe if you want to attend all the meetings because you want to be there, you want to be visible, but okay, you can sit down and ask yourself, what meetings can really benefit to my growth? What meetings are very strategically important for me and the team? What meetings I can skip because it's just some people discussing something that is not so important, right?
Yeah.
And then you can attend the strategical meetings, you can learn something, and then you can really introduce to your manager, oh, look, I was, on those meetings and I learned that and I have an idea. But you don't need to go and say, I was on all the meetings and I have an idea about every meeting, something like that. So know their priorities, know the mission of the company, know the goal maybe for the next 6 months, and you need to know their pain point that they need to solve. And this is where you can work a little bit harder and have less on your plate, but focus on the very important thing for the company and your manager.
We've covered so much already. It's been so insightful. As we're coming to an end, are there any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with us all?
Yes, I want to also share one advice for leaders who want to become more empathetic and communicate better and clearly and more empowering with their teams. Make sure that when your team or a person in your team encounters a challenge or a problem or an obstacle and feels stuck, that you are solving the right problem. Because when you're going into this advice trap, just jumping and trying to solve a problem for your person, for your team, you do not really know what problem you're solving. So in order to solve the right problem, you need to ask a lot of open-ended questions in order to understand and listen carefully and actively in order to understand what your person is saying and, most importantly, not saying, and get to the root to that. And once you know the real problem, then you can give an advice or help your person to create a strategy in order to overcome that issue and struggle.
So just also having enough time during that meeting with your colleague who's reached out to you, because I find that some leaders are too busy and they only have 5 minutes. So how can you get so deep into your colleagues' problems during that time? So I guess for leaders to just really book enough time, and like you said, listening is like the key thing that we have to do. Any specific questions we could ask to get to the bottom of the problem?
What's on your mind? You can ask, what's on your mind? Or what does it mean that you are encountering a problem? How can I help you as well, right? What do you need? What do you think you need to solve this challenge? So it really depends on the situation, but you need to ask open-ended questions and asking what else, what support, what can help you. If you would knew what to do, what would you do? If there would be no one to help you, for example, what strategy would you use in order to overcome that? If your teammate would come with the same challenge, how would you approach that? That question, for example. So really coaching the person, asking open-ended questions and diving deeper. Of course, you need to spend more time, but if you're going to give just advice and solve the wrong problem, this person will come to you in 2 days, in 1 week, disappointed, disengaged, lost completely. If you do the same, but I just told you, do that or that, but it's not aligned with how the person thinks or believes, it's not going to help, and you're just like digging yourself a hole, and you might lose that person, or you might get a low performer in your team. So if you want to have autonomous, independent team with a problem-solving mindset, you need to create that. And to create that, you really need to be a little bit of a coach for them.
Wow, I wish I was taking notes. I'm going to watch this back and take some notes. But Anastasiia, this was amazing. Thank you so much for your time and giving us all your insights. I'm sure I've learned a lot along this. No, not along this. I was going to say along this journey. It's not a journey, it's a podcast. I've learned a lot during this podcast recording as well. And I'm sure the listeners have too. So Anastasiia, if I wanted your help, where can I reach out to you?
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn and Instagram. You can also visit my website, anastasiaserafyn.com. You can find it on my LinkedIn profile as well. If you have any questions, or if you need any help, or if you need a training for leaders and coaching skills, I'm happy to help.
Oh, wow. You provide
Yes, I do.
trainings for corporate companies or?
Yes. From time to time, I do have requests from companies. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Well, Anastasiia, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. It was very lovely chatting with you today.